Hello and welcome to Heroic Stats, an Any Heroics podcast. This is episode 26. I'm not Stephen Denby. I am David Farmer, and I'm joined by my good friend John Partridge, the intern.
Hello.
And a brand new special guest, Mr. David Clubley.
Hello. Am I also a good friend?
I'll get back to you on that. David, why don't you explain to the listeners who you are and why you have beef with John, if we have beef with John.
That is what the episode will be about, I was promised. Hello, everyone. I'm David Clubley, and I like to play Middle-earth strategy battle games. So here I am.
Wow.
I won a campaign, like a competition, to be on the podcast, and
a fan mail in from the magazine. Yeah. Have you ever done well in the league, David? This is a softball question.
yeah, I did come third in the UK league once. Never talk about it though.
No, you very rarely bring it up. Cool. Well,
how many decades? Oh, yeah, you did say 26. Good. How many decades have you been playing Clubley?
However many decades the game has been around.
It's fun. What? So you got in with the advent of the game back in Fellowship of the Ring era, then back in like 2001, did you?
Yeah, I was playing more games then, and then the magazines I think came out in 2002.
Okay.
Just started getting models then.
Oh, nice. Oh, good job. So, hobby. John, have you done any hobby this week?
I've still been painting up bay awnings. Now that I've finished up work on Stephen's present and then Dave's present, which I forgot to give him at the weekend, just gone. I can work on my own stuff, which I shouldn't be doing. I should be revising for an exam, but I've been painting and podcasting instead.
Oh, what's an exam?
Very fun. What about you, Dave? Or Dave's plural?
Clubley, after you.
Well, much like Jay from In Between Us, Middle-earth strategy battle game, mate. Completed it. So I'm now on to doing old world hobbying. So yeah, painting up Knights of Podium.
Nice. So Danny didn't fully crush your desire to play that then?
Just my desire to play him.
As for me, I had a little fire lit under me hobby-wise at the tournament this weekend, and I had a nice, lovely conversation with one of our listeners, and he inspired me to try and find a model to paint up as nice as I possibly can. And now I'm currently trying to work out what I should paint, because a lot of the models I had in my mind, I've already painted, which is a bit annoying. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to have a go with that. I haven't painted anything this week, but I'm currently trying to work out what my next thing might be. Might do some more Hunter Orcs at some point, because I've stalked that army really hard.
Farmer. On hobby, Dave. Did any of you pick up any models at the weekend from the shop?
Yes, I got a few.
There weren't any that I've really needed. I kind of wanted the Harad King mounted, and I kind of wanted the Orc banner, and I kind of wanted a few bits and bobs, and then I sort of thought, I'll buy one when I win a game, and didn't buy it. Spoilers, but I didn't end up having many opportunities to buy. No, I just didn't. I just went out of my mind, and I just didn't get around to doing it. None of them were so obvious must-buys that I felt the need to. So,
yeah, I bought a Rivendell banner bearer, Rivendell captain. I also bought an Arwen and a Metal Aragorn, because I actually want to paint those two models up specifically as a cake topper for an event next year. We'll see if that gets past the committee. But speaking of buying old rare models, have you guys heard about our affiliate, Seven City Collectibles? Not only can you buy old stuff, you can sell them all your models, quit playing Lord of the Rings, and buy Lorcana instead. Either of you two going to do that? Tempted?
I don't play card games, mate. from Yu-Gi-Oh! Goat format, which I'm tentatively interested in, but that's a different thing.
Well, enough about 7th City. Let's get on to our first event of the weekend. It was Battle of Britain, a GBHL 80 TO'd by Henry Britton himself, famous for running the 24-hour charity stream. I think that was last year he did that. It was held at Atomic Cards in Swindon. 18 players competed over 3 rounds at 650 points. Most Sporting was won by Dan Garside and Best Painted by Phil Beale. Unfortunately for this event and the next event that we are going to cover, we don't have photos of the Best Painted Army. So if you know who won them, when I spam all the Facebook groups, definitely post some pictures so everybody can see. I know Dan's a very good painter, so it'd be nice to see some of his stuff.
Did you?
Oh no, Phil, sorry.
Generate that?
And Dan's
did you generate that, John, or was that something from the actual event?
That was, as always, we do high quality production, so we steal photos from the actual event pages.
So I'm 99% sure that's AI generated, but it's hilarious. So wonderful whoever thought to do that. Fantastic job. If it's not AI generated, I apologize.
Giant Gandalf or tiny plane?
I think both is funnier. Giant Gandalf though.
Yeah. So
so before we take into this, by the way, I just want to mention this is 650 points, which is possibly an interesting insight into what meta we might be looking at for a certain 650. I know this is an 80, so maybe not that much of a meta, but Articon coming up in just over a month now, 650 points, I believe. Usually, I think it's pretty set at that.
Remind me, Dave. Did somebody throw down a gauntlet or something to do with Articon?
They've been real quiet about that, but yeah, they might have done.
Australia. Are you putting together a team, Farmer?
Oh, I have an Avengers squad.
It's being assembled.
Goats.
Did I make the cut?
I don't believe you were. I don't believe you were available to make the cut, John.
Did Stephen make the cut?
He wasn't available either. My intention was to invite GBHL 1.
I see how it is.
Club here makes the cut, but
deep.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
Accurate deep cuts, right? So maybe this will give us an insight into the kind of things we'll see on the podium at Articon. So our third place list was Dan Garside, who also won Most Sporting. He's brought 34 of your finest Lothlorien and Rohan models. Galadriel, who is the leader, leads 4 Wood Elf Warriors with Spear, 4 Wood Elves with Spear and Bow, 5 Guard of the Galadriel Court, 1 Wood Elf Sentinel. Gamling, with Horse and Royal Standard, leads 4 Helming Ass with Shield and Throwing Spears, 6 Helming Ass with Bow, 2 Royal Guard with Horse and Throwing Spears, and then Grimbold, who you need to take to be able to take the Helming Ass, leads 4 more Helmingus with Shield and Throwing Spear, and 1 Royal Guard with Horse and Throwing Spear. How many different ways are there to pronounce Helmingus, Helmingas, Helmingus?
First thing that jumps out to me in this list is it doesn't have any strike, which is an interesting choice.
A lot of fight 6 though.
Yeah, I mean it's got 5 of them. Like, I'm not saying this can't do well with that. I'm a little surprised. Well, actually, I'm interested to see he's gone for bow-armed Helmingus as well instead of Outriders. I've seen that before with. I've even seen people go bow and throwing spear together, which is a little. Well, it's a big,
bit funky
investment into one model, especially when they're D4. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, this little combo is nice. I've seen it a bit. Like, good side really struggles outside of the dwarf list. Getting strength 4 troops is difficult, and strength 4 models with axes like these guys, especially with low defense, and they can theoretically pierce without losing too much. Yeah, it's pretty cool, especially with the elf backing, because Lothlorien Rohan is a green alliance. It gives you access to, so for example, there's no Hero of Valor in the Rohan part there, so you can get away with it. I do think that Gamling is. I understand the appeal of Gamling, obviously, because he's in theoretically infinite might, but I actually don't think without a hero to really benefit from that, you're really getting a whole lot. You're getting infinite heroic moves, but without having someone like Dernhelm on the side or Theodred maybe, you're maybe losing out. But he
Do you
does bring
think?
much.
Do you think this list gets better if you have Theodred and a banner instead of Gambler? Just
Doesn't
the
have
points
much.
aren't that far off.
Personally, I take that as a personal insult.
What about if you add in Erkenbrand?
I don't think anyone would do that. That'd be too OP. I sort of think this list is like, I like what it's doing, but I think maybe 650 might be a little small for this setup. I think maybe
we saw
bigger
similar style of things kind of at the Nations Cup at 800 do quite well. Kind of Rohan Loth.
Well, that with Guahir, yeah.
Even without Guahir, there was a few.
This list is a favourite Dangar side, so he uses his Lothlorien, his Rohan quite a lot. So if there are shortcomings in the list, I think he's probably made up for that with experience.
I think making up for like the potential weaknesses in there. I'm kind of surprised 34 models feels a bit small, but I think it would do well. I mean, obviously, like a lot of it is fairly squishy as well, but I guess it just depends what you're up against. And if you're comfortable with it, by all means, crack on, son.
Cool. Well, only 11 lists to go, and then you two are 3. So let's look at the next list. It is our very own Any Heroics Jesus himself, Jordan O'Brien, bringing his trademark blowjob list. Clubley, why don't you run us through this one, if you can, on your phone?
I can't see.
Old man eyesight.
Right. I'm having to have to go right in like this. So, mate, no, I still can't see it, mate. Sorry.
Okie dokie. So, Jordan brought the Serpent Horn Far Harad. He's got 40 models at 650 points. The Betrayer is the leader, and he's bringing 4 Haradrim with bow with poison arrows, 4 Haradrim warriors with spear and bow with poison arrows, 4 Serpent Guard, 3 Serpent Riders. Then he's got a Mahud King with camel and spear, leading 6 Mahud warriors with blowpipes, 5 Mahud warriors with blowpipes and spear, 1 Mahud warrior with banner, blowpipe and spear, and then a Tribes Master with camel, blowpipe and war spear, leading 5 more Mahud warriors with blowpipes and 5 more Mahud with blowpipes and spear. So it's 8 bows, but an awful lot of blowpipes. Jordan loves blowing things.
Yeah, he this is a list he's been using a lot. He didn't take the banner. Oh, he did take the banner. Oh, Weef alert. So after playing with Suladan one time because he was forced to because of the format, he's converted and he loves banners now, despite thinking that they're for Weefs, because he started with Moria and Moria can't have a banner. So I think there was maybe a little bit of cope there from our boy. I actually really don't like the Mahud Tribes Master profile. I think it's pretty bad. Having said that, it does bring March, so I'm all for it. Tribes Master is a lot of points for not a lot of effectiveness, but with a camel, it can still have a great time. And he's given it.
It's a fairly rare model. Why don't you run us through, Dave, the actual specifics that you don't like about it for some of our newer listeners?
It's just it doesn't have the things. I mean, it's not that it's essentially a captain-ish profile. So it's the Marcher in a list that has access to one of the best generic beat sticks in the game, which is the Mahud King. Mahud Kings are amazingly good for their points. Like 85 points for the camel and war spear. They're like strength 5, 3 attacks with +1 to wound. So obviously that's what he's got here.
What do you get for the 20 points extra on top of the Tribe Masters of the King?
Tribes Masters, I think they're strength 5 still, but they lose. They don't have the fight 5. They don't have the 3rd attack, and I think they're courage less or 2. I think they might even be 2 courage less. I think they might be courage 3, while the Kings are courage 5. And they don't have the 2nd will point. That I'm trying to verify that my legit PDF is taking a long time to load, so I'm just going to grab my book to double check that. But
what do you think of this list, Clubley?
So
at this sort of point, at this sort of points, though, I think Harad and Far Harad is a great combo. No one likes being peppered by blowpipes. Strength 4 is our meta king, and this army has it in buckets. It's got magic. I know the Betrayer is not the best caster, but he can still chuck out a cheeky Transfix or even go more ham on the dice for a good black dart to win you a game. And a king, and Hood King is just nigh unstoppable.
He's a beast. So the only thing that like some might say is better than this would be a like Suladan, for example. But I think the whole point here is he wanted to max out his blowpipes. You notice he hasn't taken any troop camels. He hasn't got any of the raiders, and I think that's quite smart. His troop cav is all serpent riders, which is probably the most points efficient troop cav in the game, except maybe the warg rider. Like this, it's hard to beat
until Arnold come out.
Well, potentially. Watch the Golem Gamers. I don't think it's come out yet. Watch the Golems Gamers cavalry tier list that I feature in. It'll be out soon, I imagine. Where we talk about this in great detail over the course of about 2.5 hours. But yeah, Serpent Riders, great. Mahud cavalry, cool, but also whereas mounting your big beefy heroes is smart. It's interesting that he opted to put the blowpipe on the Tribes Master instead of the Mahud King. I expect that's because the King wants to just be beating people up rather than shooting people with a blowpipe. I mean, that's a lot of blowpipes. That's what, 23 blowpipes?
Yeah.
Yeah, 23 blowpipes, and the Betrayer does affect them. So when you activate your poison, it's like 23 shots hitting on threes, wound, strength 2 re-rolling to wound is nasty. Yeah, it's a good list.
Right, let's look at our winner. It is David Lambert bringing Lothlorien and Rivendell. So it's a shame Stephen's not here because David has brought Galadriel and Gil-galad himself. Ooh. There he is, hiding behind Galadriel.
Nice.
So Galadriel leads 4 Galadriel warriors with shield, 5 guard of the Galadriel court, 1 wood elf sentinel, 3 wood elves with bow, and then Gil-galad is on horse and shield, 6 high elf warriors who are king's guards with shield, 4 king's guards, shield and spear, 2 elf warriors with bow, and 2 riv knights with shield. What do we think of this one?
I think it's fascinating that he opted to take 5 pikes when he already has 10 Kingsguard. Because Guard of the Galadriel Court are great, but the main thing they add is fight 6. Pikes are obviously good, but I guess they're such good value, aren't they? 12 points. It's hard to beat them out. But he's got the Kingsguard, which are also fight 6. So he's got the mighty alliance of fight 6 and fight 6. Does it say who his leader was?
It may have done, but I haven't noted this down.
Okay, here's a question then. Which one would you make the leader?
I would probably... I think I would make Gil-galad the leader because I don't want to auto-lose contest. Yeah. I know it's only a 1 in 80. It's like when you take Galadriel and Gwahir, who do you make the leader? And I think you can still... You're not always going to lose having kind of your combat threat as your leader. Loads of other lists do that. And then it means, whereas if Galadriel is your leader for contest, that matchup, you could have everything else go right, but you might just lose because your leader's unarmed, trying to slap some people out.
Probably. What do you think?
Oof. I think I agree with John. I'll take Galadriel if there was the veto option.
Yeah.
And if not, I'd go Gil-galad. I think at a smaller event like this, give it to Lady, Gil-galad should be safer from magic. But then that being said, we've seen magic in every list so far. So
yeah. So I think I agree, and the reasoning being Galadriel as a leader in contest is such an uphill struggle; it's almost unwinnable. Whereas Gil-galad being the leader in every scenario is slightly worse, but none of them actually is bad. It's he's still D8, fight 9. He's only getting chumped for sure against something like Vanquishers or Black Riders. You can always keep your leader safe if you want. Gil-galad has the unique and special, wonderful power of being able to, if you really want, you can dismount him and use him as a spear support to, not that this is going to get outfought a whole lot because it's fucking fight 6 everywhere. In fact, I think this might be the list with the highest concentration of Fight 6 I've ever seen. But yeah, I you know, like you can keep him safe. You don't have to throw him around the corner into two guys who are combating him miles away. You can just put him into the line, fight a guy or two a turn. Don't do any silly heroic combats. Keep him next to your banner. Get 2 rerolls. It's like you don't have to be reckless with him. And if you're not reckless with him, he's probably not going to die. And you can use him as this monstrous threat because if you're fighting a model, their heroes can't be chargeable by Gilgalad because you could then be like, right, heroic combat, and he's going to outfight anything. You know, even Guahir, he outfights. And if you're threatening to trap them or something, they have to respect that and either try and take a risky combat to jump away or strike, and then you can just be like, no, I'll just kill some more guys. That's the power of Gilgalad. And I'm happy lecturing because Stephen's not here. Anyway, I like that.
Do you take the shield on Gilgalad?
If I'm making him my leader, I do.
Yeah.
If he's not my leader, then I wouldn't bother, unless there's nothing I can spend the 5 points on.
Yeah. Do we think we're likely to see any of these lists, kind of inspiration being drawn from any of them for Ardacon?
I'm going to use Gilgalad and win Ardacon and make Denby cry. Safety.
You mentioned Vanquishers. I don't know who would possibly take Vanquishers at 650 points. What a madman. Okay, let's look at our next tournament. It was the last alliance, so fitting that we had Gilgalad on. The TO was Alan Liddell in Common Ground Games in Stirling, Scotland. Players had to bring 2 550-point lists of the same alignment, and they played 2 games with each list, and there was 40 players in total. I don't know whether the scenarios were known beforehand, but the scenarios they played were Command the Battlefield, Destroy the Supplies, a modified version of Heirlooms, and Fog of War. Most Sporting was won by Andrew Stone. Pardon?
Do you know how Heirlooms was modified?
No, I don't, unfortunately.
Sterling, they always start with it because Heirlooms. I don't know if you know this, but Heirlooms was originally basically lifted from a custom scenario that the Scots came up with for scouring Stirlingshire. So
cool.
They basically they had it first. They invented it. So
that's a nice little tidbit of trivia.
Yeah. So it's their version is the relic is worth 5 and breaking is worth 3. So essentially, if you don't have a banner, you can still get a draw. And if you do have a banner, you can get a win, even if your opponent has the relic. If you kill their leader, break them, and take their banner, which is a nice touch, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it means there's a bit more to play for if you get punked with that like turn 1 thing.
It's a bit less likely that a random 6 just ends the game.
Yeah. Most Sporting was won by Andrew Stone, and Best Painted was Johnny Stanfield. Apologies to Johnny, we don't have any photos of his army, unfortunately. Internet still hasn't reached Scotland. Third place was someone well known to the pod, Ian McGregor. So he's brought the 2 lists that he brought were Survivors of Lake Town with Bard, the Girls, and Alfred, Hilda Bianca, and Bilbo Baggins Master Burglar. 43 models in total, 10 bows. His second list was Arnor with pretty stock standard Arnor build at 550, Arvadui, Malbeth, Captain, 42 models this time with 13 bows, has a banner, has a single Hobbit in there for resistant to magic, but doesn't have a Warhorn.
Well, the Hobbit's just there. The Hobbit's just there to get him the model up, get him the 42 rather than 41. If you go for pure Rangers as your bows, you can't get you can't get that extra model. But I will say those are pretty close to some of the stronger meta picks at 550. I would say the only thing difference, I think Army of Lake Town is a bit better than Survivors at 550, but these are both just really strong. I do think it's interesting that he went for Bilbo. I guess at that point it's hard to get another whole warband. He's gone for Bilbo and the cheapest available hero, which is Hilda. Hilda's really cheap for a hero fortitude. And then he's got Bard and Sigrid and Tilda. Only 547 points. Get some spears on those bows, brother.
What do you think of this one, Clubly? Or either of them?
You used something similar to that at Dewey's event last year, didn't you, Clubs?
Yeah, I really didn't enjoy the Survivors at 550. Just fight 3 was terrible.
But did you take Bilbo Baggins Master Burglar?
I did not. I had Percy and a captain. But
Again,
maybe
March.
getting +1 to wound helped him a lot, and having a ring bearer with no downsides to it, really good.
Yeah, I mean, Bilbo does have a strike as well, I think. So secondary striker. Pretty sure Master Burglar has got all the good heroics. Apart from March. Yeah, not having March is a bit wank, but you got a lot of shooting. What did you say the scenarios were?
Let me flick back. Command the battlefield, destroy the supplies, modified heirlooms, and fog of war.
Yeah, you don't really need March for those. Obviously, it helps in heirlooms and can destroy the supplies, but if you have shooting dominance, you don't need it. But again, maybe that's why he came third. Ian, if you're listening, put spears on your bloody bows. Use all your points. I won't tell you again.
What do we think of the Arnor build? Any notes?
It's Arnor. That's exactly the build. There's literally 2 options at 550. It's that or version where he has pure rangers and 1 less model. And that's it. Nothing to speak of.
Let's look at second place. It was Jamie Baxter, who's brought Serpent Horde and Mordor, but in separate armies this time. So we often see them together. I know, it's wild. So in his Serpent Horde side, he's got Sully with Armoured Horse, 3 Haradrim Raiders with War Spear, 4 Haradrim Raiders with War Spear and Bow, 3 Abrakan Merchant Guard, and 3 Warriors with Spear. Then he's got Raza with 6 Haradrim Warrior with Bow, 3 Haradrim Warrior with Spear, 3 Serpent Guard, and a pardon me, big yawn.
You poor John.
Just tired. I'm tired, boss. They don't give the intern any breaks. Haradrim Taskmaster leading 6 warriors with bow, 3 warriors with spear, 3 serpent guard. Breathe. And on the Mordor side, we've got 30 models this time. Shadow Lord leading 5 Black Nuns, 4 Morannons with spear, 1 Morannon with spear, shield, and banner, 3 trackers. Shagrat, Captain of Cirith Ungol with the shield and heavy armor, 5 Nuns, 5 Morons with spear, 1 Moron with just a shield, and then an Orc Captain, 1 Warg with 3 Warg Riders with throwing spear.
Interesting.
These are cool lists. They wouldn't be my kind of. I'm not familiar enough with Serpent Horde, so it looks like a decent list. It's a lot of models, a lot of bows, but this probably wouldn't be how I'd build Mordor. But I think it's interesting. You've got shooting protection, Shagrat's a monster. At 550, there's probably a lot less things that can actually keep up with him.
Farm, look at that. Your Captain and Warg you've been raving about.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was actually thinking about that because we talked about this literally earlier today. David was telling me about his one of his possible lists for next week, which is also going to be 550, and he was talking about Shadowlord, but instead of Shagrat, which Shagrat's an all-round beater, but I mean, you look at his model count; he's only got 30. So if you drop Shagrat down to another one of the effective heroes, now I'd probably go for Gorbag, but obviously, obviously David here is a big Grishnak truther. He believes in Grishnak, and that would allow you to get a lot more bods on the table, like 38 probably if you had a few trackers. Also, this kid's already. I noticed he hasn't got shields in his Morannons, and I know some people sometimes do it at safe points, and I really think the strength of this line is the D6, like the depth.
Throughout,
Because if you get on Morannons with even regular Black Numenorians, enemy Black Numenorians, or even like Serpent Guard fighting Morannons, suddenly they have a really solid chance of killing you because they've got the fight value and they wound you on 5s, rerolling 1. I think this Harad list is definitely better. I think the Taskmaster is kind of rogue, but I actually quite like it because 3 potential heroic shoots, marches as well. Obviously, the Taskmaster doesn't bring the raw might of like a king or something, but I think it's a better choice than like a chieftain would be here. And also the Harad Taskmaster model is a beast. It looks really cool. And you used to see it all the time, like constantly last edition, because Taskmasters were amazing and Harad Taskmasters could lead some of the best troops in the game. And now you literally never see them. So I rate the choice because I think it's a badass model, even if he looks like he's wearing a wicker basket.
Cool. our first place list was everyone's favourite Scotsman, our reporter in the field himself, Mr. David Reed,
Hey,
with another Suladan. So Mr. Reed has brought the Blackgate Opens, Beefy Chiefy, 1 orc with banner and spear, 4 orcs with spear, 5 Morannons with shield and spear, 5 Morannons with shield, Mouth of Sauron armoured horse, 5 orc warriors with spear, 5 Morannons shield and spear, 5 Morannons with shield. And then that same orc captain again, he gets around 2 orc warriors with spear, 1 Morannon with shield. And in David's Serpent Horde side of things, he's brought 34 models, 18 bows, Sully on armoured horse with a bow. You don't often see Sully with the bow. 5 Haradrim warriors with bow and spear, 3 with just bow, 2 Serpent Guard, 2 Serpent Rider, 1 Watcher of Kana with twin blades, 4 Abrakan Merchant Guard, the fat lads. Then he's got the Betrayer leading 2 Haradrim warriors with bow and spear, 6 Haradrim warriors with bow, 5 Serpent Guard, 1 Abrakan Merchant Guard, and then finally a Haradrim Chief with bow with poison arrows. So it's another David on our podium. We see those quite a lot. It's another Suladan.
Betrayer's on foot here as well.
Preston.
18 bows. I think the 2 heroes with bows make sense because it lets you beef up your numbers a little bit artificially. Because he's only got 34 models compared to the other one we saw that had 40. But he's got the same number of bows, I think, or maybe 1 less. You go back 1 quickly.
He's got 2 more bows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's got the Betrayer, so I mean that's nasty.
Do we think that are the 2 hero bows worth more than a horse on the Betrayer?
Yeah. You don't need the Betrayer. The Betrayer, like the horse is nice. Horses are always nice, but when the Betrayer isn't a primary caster, if you remember, he's not someone who darts in and out and does mischief like you might do with a Witch King or a basic wraith. The horse actually doesn't provide as much for him. As long as you deploy sensibly, you can maximize, get him in the center of your line, and then you don't need to move him very much because your line might move 3 inches, shuffle around and shoot, and the Betrayer can do that. Easy beans.
Yeah.
It's a 6-inch bubble, so the extra benefit of the horse base doesn't actually help you that much. It does a little bit, but in an army this small, he's only got 34 models. You don't need to.
You don't need the bigger base.
To have the bigger base. You can get all your bows in pretty comfortably.
Right. Solid list. Blackgate Opens is always really cool.
Yeah, I didn't even mention it, but 36 models it's fine. It's good enough. He's beefed out his numbers a bit with some orcs with spear, which is a smart thing to do. Moran and orcs are the best part of this list. I like the captain though, because again, as with the Sultan Loth, the captain can get +1 to wound really easily, and give him a pick. If you win a fight with him, he's like an absolute monster. So yeah, not surprised to see this top in it.
The thing that I kind of was told when I first started getting into the game was you always want to aim for kind of the points value you're playing divided by 20 for model counts. But we see it a lot. We've seen it in most of our podium lists that we've covered so far, especially at lower points. Do you think that that 1 model per 20 points sort of rule of thumb is a bit too stringent at lower points and you actually need ideally more models?
I think actually the truth is you want to aim for as close to 40 models as you can. If you're playing an army, doesn't matter the points level. That's why you're suddenly seeing at smaller points, Hunter Orcs are very popular. You're seeing Army of Lake Town is extremely popular. You're seeing Goblin Town is extremely popular. Things that get you extra models, because actually the match play guide, the truth of it is the match play guide favors large numbers. Whereas at large points levels, you actually don't need that doesn't scale up. Once you get to between 40 and 50 models, I don't think you ever need more than 50 if you're playing an elite army. So the advantage of running 70 dwarves in a sort of hoardy dwarf army at 1,000 points, for example, isn't as great as if you're running 40 with the best allies available and amazing heroes and magic and control. You know what I mean? 40 models is I feel like when you've got 40, nothing is going to feel insurmountable, even at 1,000 points. So I think shooting for 40 models is the key.
I think that maybe isn't a rule that applies all the time though. If you go sub 550, most armies are going to struggle to hit 40 models. And so the rule that you got told, John, it would probably be better to stick to. You know, if you're taking an elf list at 500 maybe, or anything that's elite, sort of your Minister of Heavy Elite Army.
Yeah. But I guess you could argue that if you're following...
Are those strong armies at 500 though?
Yeah, I think we were about to make the same point, Dave.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Food for thought.
How many of these 6 lists we just saw, or variants thereof, do you think that we're going to see next weekend in Chippenham?
I mean, I think Serpent Horde is a really strong option at small points because they're a little bit elite, they're a little bit shooty, they're a little bit good value, and they come with Suladan, who's a beast. I mean, I would imagine we'll see plenty of Sullies. Exactly what we're running with, I'm sure he'll be in alliances. You'll see plenty of Serpent Horde, maybe some spicier picks, but Suladan will show up at 550. He's too good not to.
Right, let's go slightly higher points and bring you the podium list from the Wolf's Lair returns a GBHL 100 held in Woolpit, east of England, 700 points. It was veto in random pools, so you weren't vetoing from all 3 Maelstrom missions, for example. 38 players were battling it out. Most sporting was Ryan Turnage.
40 players. 2 players dropped, but it was still 40 at the start.
Okay. Most sporting was Ryan Turnage, and best painted was Rory Duckett. We actually have photos for Rory. Rory's absolutely fantastic. Looks like Iron Hills and Mirkwood kind of alliance.
Founders Halls, yeah. He's got. We discussed this. We discussed that it is really, really nice. This is talking to Rory about this was what inspired me to want to paint something really fancy, because his Thorin and his Legolas are really nicely painted, and all of his dwarves have got non-metallic swords, as I'm sure you can see there. We had a little chat about it. It's a lovely looking army. We actually talked about this, I think, in one of the comments of the one of the previous pods. I will have to check that.
Did either of you two have the pleasure of playing him the weekend?
No, I did not.
Although Dave did get to play the chap who won most sporting, if I'm right.
Yeah, we played.
Yeah, you played Ryan. Was that so? Well, 2 of us will go through how we did kind of now before we look at the podium. So unsurprisingly, I was one of the 3 of us that didn't get on the podium. My games were all fantastic games, but unfortunately I went 3-3. I took Serpent Horde, Mordor, but took a Fell Beast. Witch King was really good. I made a few mistakes in the veto. I think that's what hurt me the most. I think 2 of my 3 losses were kind of because I probably in hindsight chose the wrong mission, but hindsight's very easy to kind of look back and pick things through. A few kind of small mistakes during the games. Don't think I made any major mistakes, but got to play a few people who are fans of the pod. That was really nice. So shout out James and shout out everyone else that kind of I played. It was really good fun. A few members. I played 2 members of Will's Champions as well. That was good fun.
Oh, well, I wouldn't know on that.
So
maybe I should be though.
How did you get on, David?
So I took my Rage of Athelion at 700, which is something I've been advocating for, and it went absolutely terribly. Like, just laid by my standards. I think it was my worst finishing. I mean, debatably, my worst finish since my first ever tournament at 100, which is not a great look, especially when I'm advocating for the Rangers. It was a mixture of things. I think the biggest thing that I failed to account for coming into the tournament was actually that I was seeing all the benefits of veto, and I was thinking, okay, veto can protect me from my bad scenarios. But what I failed to realize was the thing with Rangers is you sort of need skewy in your favor scenarios, but veto actually means that my opponent can protect themselves from my good scenarios, which meant that actually I spent a lot of time playing scenarios that weren't brilliant for me, but they weren't terrible. But also, like, Rangers are really punishing if you don't do it perfectly, and I did not do perfectly this weekend. I think
how did you finish,
one where, was that?
Yeah, I don't think you said how you finished it results wise.
Oh yeah, I got 2 wins and 4 losses.
2 and 4.
After I had my worst joint worst ever first day where I lost 3 games, and I was like, shit, this has pretty much never happened to me before. And people were telling me like, oh, you should go for the spoon, you should go for the spoon. But I don't have it in me to try and lose games on purpose. So I was like, no, I'm gonna win some games tomorrow, and I'm gonna end up horribly mediocre mid-table, which is what happened. I finished 29th out of 40/38, which is pretty poor.
There's nothing wrong with horribly mediocre, Dave. That's where I live.
Was that David?
However, I am new to the Any Heroics team. But I believe, does that make you the intern now, Farmer? And John, you get a promotion?
No, what it means is,
if that was the case, I would have overtaken Stephen a while ago.
What it means is that John came up with the idea to play Rangers, I believe, is how we've done this before.
Yeah, that is historically how it works. Yeah. Dave copied my Rangers build. That's why he did bad.
That's why you built this slave. No, the Rangers is a lot of fun, but if you don't roll well, it's quite punishing. Obviously, you're kind of fishing for those beastly turns you kill a and I had a couple of like really bad unlucky moments. Like I sent this one of my games, the second game, I was domination. I was in a tentatively winning position, shall we say. I had several objectives in my favor. I needed 1 more model to die for me to 25% and win the game. And what ended up happening was I rolled really well on my courage test that turn on models that didn't matter, which is a classic. And then my opponent, I was 1 model off 25%ing. His Thranduil lost a fight to like 2 guys, and his Legolas won a fight against a ranger and then didn't kill him despite needing 4s to do so. And I was stabbing as well, just didn't die. And then the game went on another turn, and every ranger contesting objectives just fucked off simultaneously. It was like, oh, fail. Oh, cool. Oh dear, that's a shame. So that was a sad one. I feel like I did all right in that game, but the ending of it was not what I wanted. Third game against Ryan, who won the best scoring. He's a lovely guy. He was quite apologetic because he spent a lot of time winning priorities and then winning roll-offs, and I was just like, well, there go my Rangers. It was falling down, which is, again, like, the list is really punishing if things don't go your way. And yeah, they didn't go my way. I'm not trying to displace all culpability. There were a few moments where, like, I definitely made the wrong decision. Like, I think in the game I was just saying to you, a domination, I definitely should have drafted the other option, which is heirlooms. I should never have opted into domination because I know domination is a bad scenario for Rangers for this exact reason. Anyway,
well, nobody cares how clubby you did. So let's look at the podiums. We definitely don't have a feud. Third place was, of course, Mr. Ash Woolger. So
big up the Ashley.
Although Ash doesn't know how to write lists, so he was unable to send a tabletop admiral list. So we've done it for him. Do you want to whip through this one, Dave?
Yeah, so this is identical to the last tournament he played at 700, like exactly identical, because that's how he is and that's how he likes to play, and he knows his list, he likes his list, and he doesn't mess with it. He's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So he has Witch King of Angmar, 145, my personal favourite build of the Witch King, which is Crown Horse, 3 might, 3 will, 2 fate. So, 3 might, 13 will, 2 fate. Extremely high value budget. 8 Morannons with Spirit and Shield, 8 Black Numenorians in front of them, 2 trackers. He's got Master Sauron on horse, he loves the Master Sauron. For the secondary transfix, he's got 5 Black Nums, 4 Morannons, 3 with Spear Shield, 1 with just Spear, and 5 trackers. And then he's got Gorbag with Shield, 2 trackers, and Suladan leading 2 Serpent Riders. 40 models. Excellent list, frankly. The only thing you could argue is a downside is it doesn't have any shooting protection. He hasn't gone for the he's gone for the 4 heroes, which is much stronger in combat. Like Mouth and Gorbag versus the Shadowlord, you've got 2 combat heroes rather than shooting protection. It's a pretty solid choice, especially at 700. I mean, this is a really powerful level for this list because it gets numbers, it gets tools, it gets one of the best battle lines in the game. It gets Suladan. I think he ended up finishing. I mean, it's quite unusual to finish on the podium with a draw and a loss, but I mean, he's definitely he deserves what he gets for the consistency of using a list like this, because it delivers. I would love to see him use other lists just because, you know, it gets old, but at the same time, like he's been on this podcast before explaining his reasons why he loves it, and you got to respect that, really. Also, he's good at football. Big up Ash Walker.
So you mentioned something when you were talking about your run, Dave, how with the veto, kind of, you were almost punished by bringing a list that needs those skewy matchups. This list that Ash has brought is clearly a take-all-comers list. It can kind of do a bit of everything. Do you think that that's actually stronger in veto format, or at least the Wolfslayer veto format specifically, than the kind of skew lists?
I think, again, so this version of the list is all comers, but it's not as all comers as the version I used to run at 700 with the Witch King, the Shadow Lord, and Suladan. So this list, actually, you can protect yourself from shooting a lot better by saying, right, we're not going to play any. So you can decide you're not going to play any scenarios like a to the death or something. If you're playing Isengard crossbow spam, you're looking, or crosshairs, you're looking down the barrel of 20 crossbows. You're not going to be like, right, we're not playing to the death. We're going to play a Maelstrom or something. You can protect yourself, and that's the strength of this version of the list in veto is much better than the version I used to champion with the Shadow Lord, because you can say, right, oh yeah, you've got the bomb and you've got crossbows up the ass, but we are deploying on the center line.
Yeah,
I think it likes veto, John. I think you make a great point. It's an all comes list. It can still have a bad, especially as we had random pools. You could have a random pool with 3 shooting scenarios in, and it could flip it. But with randomly putting 3 different pools into a group, I don't think that's going to happen very often. And I think that's a great way to go with veto. I think rather than taking your skew list as farm found and actually your opponent takes away the skew that you want, you play it in the middle ground. I like it.
You play an all comes list with a little bit of, just a small amount of leaning. You use the veto to protect yourself from the crossbows rather than other things. Where it works.
Cool. So speaking of all comers lists, Dragon Emperor taken by Ben Haslam, friend of the pod, Gollum's Gamer as well. He's brought Host of the Dragon Emperor, 40 models, so hitting that sweet spot that Dave mentioned earlier in the pod. He's got Dragon Emperor with 18 Eastlings, Pike Shield, Black Dragon upgrade for free. Eastling Captain with 2 Warriors with Shield, 2 Warriors with Bow, and then Ratavi with 1 Cataphract with Drum, 5 Eastlings with Shield and Pike, and 9 Eastlings with Shield. So chatting to Ben, we were talking a bit about this list, and it's very, very lean. There's kind of no fat that you can really trim anywhere on the list. And he's done that by intention to kind of really max out his numbers, which I think's, personally, I think that's the best way of running the Dragon Emperor. You don't get as many of the toys, but it's similar to what the Bin Juice brought to Nations Cup. And I think it's a really strong way of building it.
700, he's not gone for pro gear, which is fair. But I think Rutabi is a good choice. She leads a lot of models. He's put all of his Black Dragons into the Emperor's Warband. He's not gone for the Black Dragon Cataphract. I guess he decided it was okay to let the Black Dragon, the drum not be in the Emperor's Warband if it meant that he got 1 extra free Black Dragon upgrade on the Pike, which is where you actually need it, because you're not going to put the Cataphract drum into combat. So the extra, by the time you're broken, you probably don't need the drum that much anyway. Like, there are times when you might want it, but like the courage doesn't help you that much, and the Fight 5 isn't going to help you if you don't use a drum in combat. So he's just decided, I want another Pike. I mean, that's a fair choice.
Do you know what's interesting here is, as we talked about earlier, he has hit that 40 model count bang on, which is a good achievement considering the Dragon Emperor took his nerf.
But it's interesting. This is the opposite. So this is essentially the opposite version to what Matt Light took to the Masters and won that, which is, that was Emperor, 2 Dragon Knights and Captain. This is one Rutabi. So less free Black Dragon upgrades. They both went for the Captain, which I think is telling. I think Captain is good value at 700. 3 Warbands helps as well, because it means you can totally stack one side in Divide and Conquer if you want.
Yeah.
Or you have a nice balanced setup where you have drum and Easterling captain can just get to middle straight away with the dragon runs up. But realistically, you wouldn't do that though. You'd stack one side with the drum and you just run up.
Yeah,
I think with everything.
Yeah, you'd put 35 on one side.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good list. We know Dragon Emperor's good. Nerf it again, maybe. Now that I've got rid of mine, nerf the shit out of it. Hopefully Stephen has fun with the army. So, in case you have been living under a rock, or you just don't follow the GBHL religiously, or you live in a different country, you wouldn't know who won the Wolf Slayer. You might have guessed, because we brought him on the podcast. It is, of course, Cake Kid Dudley.
It's Sunny.
Clubbles, run us through your list. You might not be able to read it with your old man eyes, but hopefully
I've actually got
you
a great new setup now of my camera, which is a bin with 2 saucer cups balanced on top of it, so I can have my camera sideways, so I can read it now. It's a great improvised setup. Technology, eh? Right. It is Lothlorien and the Fellowship. 700 points, 33 models, 11 bows. We have in the first warband, as the leader, Galadriel, with 9 Galadriel warriors with shield, 2 guard of a Galadriel court, 1 Wood Elf Sentinel, and 4 Galadriel warriors with elf bow and spear. Then we have Mr. Haldir with elf bow, heavy armor, and he is leading 1 Galadriel knight with elf bow, 6 Galadriel warriors with shield, 2 guard of a Galadriel court, 4 Galadriel warriors with elf bow spear, 1 Galadriel warrior with banner, spear, and shield, and Boromir of Gondor with shield and a horse.
With reading comprehension like that, you can tell why he's the top reporter of the GBHL.
Yeah. I'm fed up with these power gamers taking bullshit overpowered armies. No, I think this is actually really cool at this one, because it just shows that how good Galadriel actually is with a little bit of protection, like without the looming specter of having to play the one scenario that she's almost an auto lose in. How good Galadriel actually is as a leader, and how much Boromir brings to both either Rivendell or Lothlorien. Boromir just brings so much.
So do you know, I came within 1 wound in Lords of Battle of playing Contest of Champions. I think I may have ended up playing it against if I'd played the AOL in the final round with Musga.
Oh.
Yeah,
fascinating. I mean,
but I didn't.
Yeah.
And yeah, but you bang on the money, Farmer, because Boromir was my hands down MVP every single match. He carried the team every single match.
When I played with Galadriel, Boromir, Hobbits, Boromir, and Gwaihir, he's just such a beast. I challenge you to find a better value model for 110 points, 105 points if you don't take the shield. It's just bonkers.
What is it that makes him so good? Is it just the bevy of might making him kind of be able to do a bit of everything? Just the value you get out of him?
He solves all of the problems that the elf lists have. So both Lothlorien and Rivendell have the problem where, well, I say actually, Rivendell also have the warband space problem, but they really struggle. Lothlorien struggle because they don't have a beta hero. Celeborn is pants for his points. He's just bad value. Galadriel is excellent value, but she does have a problem where she has to be the leader because she's the only legend in the army list, and she has an obvious weakness as your leader. She's a great leader in every scenario apart from contest, where she's a complete liability. Whereas Boromir brings a fight 6 beta with a horse, so he's unlike Celeborn, he's mounted. So he offers the same offense as Celeborn, plus the fact that he gets the horse upgrade. He brings March, which the list is really awkward to get into this list otherwise, because all of their hero captain options are a bit shit. It's like, cool, Galadriel captain or the Wood Elf captain are both expensive, not that powerful profiles. Meanwhile, Boromir brings a 3 attack, 3 wound beta who is not wasting any points on his fate points or his will points or anything like that. He's just all in offense. He's all offense. And even if he's getting shut down by like magic, you're like, cool, well, I still have a 6 might heroic move caddy. which is
Yeah.
underrated. People say, "Oh, Boromir will just get shut down." It's like, cool. This list doesn't actually 100% need him to do all the heavy lifting. It's just 6 might is just amazing. 12 might is more than most people will have at 700, and it's so disposable because unless you're playing Fog of War or Assassination, you're like, right, I don't care if Boromir dies. Get in there, Boromir. Do some stuff. Kill some models.
And guess what?
Oh, you rolled a
In
4 high.
Veto-
I'll spend 2 might.
In Veto, we're not playing those scenarios. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and
And then, I mean,
he synergizes really well with Galadriel as well for her heroic resolve, which used all 3 of her might against Ashley Walker to keep Boromir going, keep him churning through stuff. And also her spell just transfixed in the threat that's then coming to take out Boromir in itself gets transfixed, and you've cancelled out what they've tried to do.
Yeah.
It's a great combination too.
Yeah, they synergize really well. Would you change anything, Dave?
Yeah,
well, actually, no. Yes, I would. I would take the spear off the Galadriel banner and put a shield on that Galadriel knight. Is what I would do.
Yeah. I would take out Howdy because he was absolutely pants.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's the thing. You were saying in the car on the way home, you actually don't, because I was thinking Howdy is a Valor, so you get a few more models, but you've actually not used those extra 3 at all at 700. You could swap him without penalty for Orofin or Rumil. Which one do you think you would go for if you were swapping him?
I quite wanted the another troop blender, so Orofin for the 3 attacks, but I see being able to take down big targets or hold them up with Rumil would also be.
Yeah,
I'd be happy to try it either.
Rumil brings the swift parry and the
defense
and the heroic defense, which can be a real problem for big scary stuff. But then arguably you've already got the potential transfix. Having said that, both of those things completely frees up Boromir because Boromir doesn't want to be playing backstop. He's too good at offense. He wants to be running in behind, smashing as many models as calling heroic combats and then winning the fight for free with your Horn of Gondor, and you just slap them around, and then they roll a 6, you roll a 5, and you're like, oh, spend a might point. I've got plenty. It's just
he absolutely did. His peak game was against Moran and Horde with Horde with Adam, where he went through a gap in a heroic combat, taking out Moran and Orc, funded into Kardush and an Orc drummer, who he chopped their heads off. Then he won the heroic move roll off and charged into the Ringwraith leader, chopped his head off. Then he went to the back line, destroyed supplies, and mopped up, I think, 6 orcs. It was moi.
If there was ever a hero that you can guarantee that's going to work, it's Boromir, because Boromir of Gondor doesn't even have the responsibility of having to stay near your battle line with his big flag. He's just like, nah, you go crazy, Boromir. Oh, you rolled a 3 high? Well, it's not good, but you're still okay,
Yeah.
He's got the might points to weather those random turns where you roll like absolute crap, and also against stuff like orcs, it's like, cool, take a courage test. Oh, you failed it. Well, I don't even have to take the risk. The only risk is I didn't kill everybody, which is still fine. What a great profile, honestly. I do find it funny that the old Galadriel-Boromir power couple is still a thing, because back in the day, before they nerfed Lady of Light, Boromir and Lady of Light together was like a real thing. Drop him into any good list and they'd make him better. Big up the Boromir Galadriel combo.
Right. Well, with that 100 in the books, it's time to bring back a returning feature of the podcast that we haven't had for a little while. It's the intern's favorite section. It's where we look at the stats. So this graph shows us the podium rates for every GBHO 100 this year. Evil armies are in red, good armies are in blue. Mordor has stormed into the lead with 7 GBHO 100 podiums. Isengard in second with 4 podiums.
John, can I ask the question for the viewers?
I was asking why Mordor's a different colour.
Is Mordor not red?
It's a darker red.
It's just a different red.
I was going to ask a more pertinent question, John, if that's all right, because as a viewer myself, some people might like to know if a player wins, like myself, with the Lothlorien and the Fellowship, do you put 1 on for each?
Yes. So even the little 100-point splash of 110 of Boromir, that is why the Fellowship is now up to 2.
That's me and you, probably, because I was the other one. That's why the Shire's on there as well.
Yeah.
Let's go, bro.
So we've got a tie for 3 GBHL 100 podiums between the Serpent Horde, Angmar, Dragon Emperor, Dark Denizens of Mirkwood, and Rise of Theoden. 4th is a tie with 2 podiums each between Lothlorien, the Fellowship, and the Misty Mountains. We've got a whole spattering of armies in with 1 podium each. So interestingly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 of the 7 highest frequency podiums are evil.
That doesn't surprise me. I think now that we're at the part of the year where we're playing a few more higher points tournaments, evil comes into its own.
But I still like the bottom end of a spectrum where you can still see that any list can get on the podium, really. Of course, there's going to be lists that are going to do better. But I think in the hands of the right player with the right build and right matchups, we still do play a game where the Rags of Khan can get on there. Theoden's Guard, Army of Dunman, like some more niche lists can still win. It's always good to see.
Yeah, we've had 28 different factions and or legendary legions podium 100 this year.
Nice. So, John, to clarify my last point, I don't mean at large points. I mean 600 to 800 at that level. Evil is big dog. I feel personally. Anything bigger than that, good becomes a lot better relatively. Yeah. Well, at least it reaches parity. If you get to 1,000, I think good is just better because it has you have room for tools and good troops and stuff. But I think at that middling range, you get the efficiency comes to evil really hard.
Anything you're surprised not to see kind of on here or not to see higher up?
No. My prediction was we'd see more Fellowship and Lothlorien, and we have, a little bit. So obviously, again, Lothlorien was also me, so I can't be too objective on that fact.
I'm surprised has Minas Tirith still not got up there yet.
Minas Tirith is high on 90s, but still hasn't got a
100.
I think it'll get there this year.
One would hope.
Can you guarantee it, Clubly? Put your journalistic integrity on the line.
But if we're going on on stats, mate, it'll probably be another 2 years till I get it up there.
Minister has worked for years, this boy.
Right.
Faramir is bad juju, though.
Hey, I did take a 90 with him, so.
Speaking of 90s, we don't have the 90 stats because I fell behind updating them. If you want me to go back and add them all, comment below and maybe I'll do it. I probably won't, but I do love spreadsheets, so maybe I will. If this video gets 100 likes, I'll do it. We'll go with that.
Will you also dress up as the lobster?
If you buy me a 4XL lobster suit, I'll wear a lobster suit at the next 100.
Man,
damn, that's a claim. We have a week to do. Oh no, he's not. You're not there next week, are you, John?
Yeah, it would have to be the next one I'm at.
Look, it'd be Articon.
It'd be Articon. Yeah,
that'd be big.
I'll wear it for both days of the main event, not doubles, because that would get in the way. There you go. Gauntlet's thrown 100 likes, and I'll wear the lobster suit.
If you can find one of the correct fit.
Yeah.
Also, John, we should say on a more serious side, I think everyone in the community appreciates that you put your own time and effort in to do this so they can view it. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Dave. You're the first person that's ever actually thanked me for doing all the stats. So
you're welcome. I'll never thank you in real life because the feud. But
I don't. Yeah, I do make stats, but I just don't share them on the pod because they're more personal to people rather than armies. A bit less interesting, maybe.
I did
tell them on the pod that one time.
Yeah, I'm going to stop recording my personal stats because they're upsetting.
Burn the record.
Yeah, there'll be no record of it. I'm changing my name. We'll try again next year. Right, viewer comments. You listeners have been slacking. We only have one page of comments this week.
Oh, thank God.
However, they are nice and long, so Clubly can't read them out because he's got old got old man eyes. But Sam Barker has our first comment with, "Hi guys, thanks for the kind words about my list. I agree, the one less will in the Witch King for the extra model. I listened to every episode of my car on the way to work. It was weird seeing myself here. Well, hopefully, Sam, it's still weird hearing us read your words on your way to work. Hopefully more to come. What's one army/list you feel is bad, underplayed, but you want to podium with? Mine is Shire Minas Tirith. Thanks."
Shire Minas Tirith is fun.
Is yours Rangers of Athelion, Dave?
Yeah, I will take it again. I'm gonna make it work, but maybe not for a little while. I need to get some dignity back before I do that.
I think Kingdom Khazad-dûm for me.
He's already said Minas Tirith as well. I mean, like, Minas Tirith is definitely represented, but it doesn't do super well at 100. So,
what do you think is lacking?
I think everyone considers Minas Tirith a solid list. It was.
I don't think it's. I think the main thing it's lacking is literally just killing power, strength 4 troops. This is why I got those Axie boys, baby.
Could you argue the same thing about Lothlorien though? Could you not just ally in some killy heroes like Theodred or?
I mean,
is the fight 5 elves
clearly a completely overpowered army? So, no, I mean, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, Minas Tirith at 800 or sorry 700, I think is pretty solid. Yeah, I like it. Honestly, like, I kind of feel like maybe I should just run that. Bring out the big flag Boromir. Bring out Hurin. Bring out Madril. Basic ass list. Some D7. Some Rangers. A couple of Knights and some axe wielding Minas Tirith warriors, just to round it out for a bit of strength 4 access. It's like I'm sure I could do well with that. I just never use it. You know, I once came 4th with Boromir, Madril, Imrahil because I wanted to have the 5/6 pikes. That was really fun. So maybe I'll drop your Minas Tirith.
You also stopped Boromir from getting it last year, Mr. Farmer.
Did I? When was that? Oh yeah.
That list you just described is right there, ready to be on the stage.
Hey, listen, Azog is a beast. To be fair, that turn was like, that was just pure. So for context, the final turn, basically, Clubly and I would have been playing for second place essentially at a tournament. Contest of Champions, final round. We're playing Contest of Champions, and it's Azog and Pizzadoggleder for me versus his Boromir and Hurin and friends. And the final turn, I've never seen a more swingy final turn. It's like a minor victory for David going into the final turn. And then, well, the second to final turn, you just don't kill anything and the game doesn't end. And then suddenly it's like everything goes my way. I had charged Boromir and I'm like, oh, okay, I've got a correct combat. And then I just absolutely deck Boromir because you rolled a 3 high. And then, you know, I was like, desperation. Like, the only way I win is if everything goes my way. And then everything went my way. And I was like, oh, sorry, mate. My second place. Yeah. It's fun. Fond memories. I'm sure you don't have fond memories of that.
Our next comment is
from
Duncan Peacock, who says, commenting here each week feels like getting coaching for free. I assume that's from the top tier comments from me and Stephen. Definitely nothing to do with Farmer. Valid comments on the Elendil Galadriel front. I was considering other avenues, as one of the other fixed scenarios is seize the prize, and having a caption for March seems quite good for that. Plus Numenor captain a horse with Lance stealth filth, but perhaps Galadriel's command immobilized plus Sentinel is sufficient to keep the prize in place while Elendil establishes dominance. Big fan of Irolas. I always used to take Ingold over him, but his unique combo of heroic actions is really good. Looking forward to next week. So I think this is probably, I guess the Irolas chat is to do with your talking about less used heroes.
Yeah, last week's. Yeah, I mean, I love Irolas. That was Denby's mention.
Yeah.
I mean, Irolas is March. Like I said, that's why Irolas and Madril are like, you know, Irolas is kind of like Madril's little brother because they occupy that niche, which is the 3-man marcher, and Madril just brings more sort of tech. A bow and his special rule just means that, and being cheaper means that probably 9 times out of 10, if not more, you're just like, well, I'm not taking my marcher to be good at in combat. I'm taking my marcher to do all right with a spear behind him. You which Madrigal still does because again, 5/5 spears. But I love Irolas. He's one of my favorite models in the range. So like I cram him into lists from time to time just for fun. But if I'm being competitive, it's Madrigal all day.
Do you know the other thing with Madrigal as well? I vote for him for is he's a Might caddy, and if you've got Irolas, you kind of want to utilize the 5/5, the bodyguard potential, the better combat potential, direct defense, and next thing you know, you spent your Might elsewhere. Whereas Madrigal will happily just sit even behind the line if he's in danger, or in the line and just Perret move.
Insightful comments from the GBHO 100 winner. Our next comment is from Darchensol, who says slap Angbor and a bunch of clansmen into Gondor or Rohan. Cheap 5/4 with a 5/5 striker that's fearless, has a fearless stand fast for other troops, and then a 6-inch banner effect for the clansmen. Him and 15 are only 185, can do dirty things to a Black Nun frontline. We definitely like that. He also does pretty well in pure fiefdoms if you build cav heavy. If things go horribly and your cav gets isolated or dies, keeps your remnants on the board even if you're broken, and can act as a banner for clansmen even after Imrahil dies.
Yeah, I mean, clansmen are cool. I wouldn't take too many of them personally. I like him. Yeah, it just, for me, the problem is the synergy just isn't there, because like the front line of Courage 5 guys, or you can bring in the pikes, which are great, and he's a cheap way to bring them in, but then the pikes getting fearless isn't high value because they're pikes, they support. I love Angbor, and I actually think his effects are good. It's just the fact that he's kind of the 5th hero in the army list is just like, if you're taking
I've toyed around the idea of him, but yeah, I agree with you, Farm. There's just something, but it's like he's always beaten by another hero choice that you take instead.
Yeah. If he had a 3rd might point as a 2nd striker, you'd be like, all right, this guy has the uses, but the 2 might just kills him.
Yeah.
A 3rd might point with strike would mean that sometimes you take him over Forlong, even though Forlong is really good.
And I think in theory it sounds good in the comment, but I don't think you'd want 15 warriors that are defense 4 and have to go 2-handed. I mean, I know on a 6 they keep it, but still they're -1 5 and 6 chance of a -1 to your dice. It's quite grim.
It's a bit rough. Ciao Sono Alberto says, are you guys ever going to start doing bat reps again? I liked them. Much love. This is good banter because we are very bad at putting out bat reps. I think somebody put a reply in, but they take a long time to make. We have to kind of meet up in real life to film them. We did put out one recently, so hopefully that's kind of scratched the itch. I've got one in the tank to edit. I think Stephen's got a couple, so we'll try and get them out. I think we say that every week. We'll try and get them out, but eventually we will. Clubly, what's your favourite bat rep that any heroics has done?
The one that I'm in. There we go.
Good answer. Mausasimi says, I must say it annoys me when people want to see more of a model but are unwilling to even read its rules. You can still ally Flowey from Kingdom of Khazad-dûm. There's no ally restriction tied to a Dwarf King and Flowey. He keeps the remove a special rule ability but loses out the regain extra will special rule. And then he lists his Giga Chad list 800, which is a Dwarf King with some lads, Flowey, Yaboy, Stonehand with some lads, White Council, Gandalf the Grey, Lothlorien with Haldir.
Now, this slightly, commenter pointing out the fact that you can actually ally Floy was like a real moment for me, because I did know this back in the day. When I first read this, I remember thinking, "Oh, you actually can ally him with the different hero, with the generic hero, the Captain of the King." And then when all the alliance stuff changed, when they brought in the need to be a hero of valor and stuff, and they made the Dwarf King's hero of valor, for whatever reason that just broke in my brain. I was like, "Oh, he's tied to Balin and blah blah blah." And then you look at it and you're like, "No, God, he's right. This guy's son of a bitch is correct." Yeah, that was just about my bad on that one. I do think that Floy having to have another hero in there as well does reduce his like effectiveness as much. Like when we were talking about the bad old days, where you'd have Floy and then he'd take his warband of Khazad, and then you'd have Legolas behind him bringing the elves and whatnot. But hands up to that one. I will say that he doesn't completely lose his ability to get Might back. He can still do it Will back. He can still do it himself. But yeah, the point there is only Moria dwarves. Basically, when Floy allied Moria dwarves killing a multi-wound model or a hero, give him back will points. But then if you don't take Balin, you don't swap the keywords for Moria unless Floy himself has the Moria keyword, but your king in this list wouldn't have it, and neither would the troops. As for the list, I mean, kind of funky. I think I'd rather take Saruman than Gandalf personally, though.
Nope.
I like Saruman.
And that is the end of the comments. Yeah. Stop sharing. Yes. Why won't you let me stop sharing?
You want more of you, John?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Are we done? Do we have to stop pretending being friends now?
All right.
Stay chittery, San Diego.
That'll wrap us up, everybody. Please comment your favorite list that you saw this episode, or just shit talk something else I got wrong if you want. And laugh at my bad performance with Rangers, and we'll see you next week. Stay chittery, everybody. Chitter, chitter, chitter.
Chitter, chitter.
Chitter.
Chitter.